All right, we've looked at some offensive situations concerning strategy. Think about some defensive situations where you got to make these same decisions based on all of these factors we've talked about before. One of those is positioning. Where do you play your players, and where do they move? All right, they need to know about their own team. If I'm playing shortstop and my third baseman cannot go well to her left, I've got to cheat over to my right and help protect that hole between me and the third baseman. If my second baseman can't go well to her right or play the ball up the middle, and my pitcher's a weak fielder, as a shortstop, I've got to play closer to second. Now, if my third baseman can't go well to her left, and my second baseman can't go well to her right, I've got a lot of territory to cover. The way to do that is to back up a little bit. I get more range if I back up farther away from the batter. I can cover more ground, so I back up. And I don't carry any equipment to the car, and you got to buy me a Coke after every practice or game too, because I'm playing three positions. If my second baseman can't go well to her right and my third baseman can't go well to her left, I'm playing half the infield, so I deserve some credit for that. But position yourself based on what your teammates around you can do. Position yourself based on what the hitter, where the runners are, what inning is it, the score, the dirt, the grass. All of these things have something to do with where your fielders play. They need to think about these factors and move around instead of standing in the same place for every batter in every situation. They need to move around based on all of these factors we've been talking about. Now, one of the things you as a coach has to decide as far as moving players around is, do you play your infielders in or back when there's a runner on third? For instance, in fast pitch, your first baseman and third baseman may already be in, but your second baseman and shortstop. Or in slow pitch, all of your infielders, if there's a runner on third, are you going to try to throw that runner out at home on a ground ball to the infield, or are you going to give up the run? If you're ahead 7-0, for instance, do you care if they score one run? If you're behind 7-0, you better care if they score a run. The situation and your fielder's ability and the hitter's ability and all of these things you use to determine whether to play your infielders in closer and try to cut off a run at the plate, or play them back and try to get the batter out. When you bring them in, how far do you bring them in? Again, those things are determined by the abilities and the situations and all of these factors we've talked about. I know some coaches that tell their infielders to play even with the baseline if they're going to be trying to throw a runner out at the plate. Well, there's no magic spot. If I've got a great arm and another infielder has a weak arm, they've got to play closer than I do. If there's a fast runner at third versus a slow runner at third, I'm going to play in a different place. If the dirt's hard or the dirt's soft, I'm going to play in a different place. If I'm going to try to throw a runner out at home plate, I want to play at the spot from which I can throw that runner out on an average hit ball. That's where I play. There's no magic place. It's based on all of these factors that we've talked about. So playing infielders in or back is a piece of strategy that's based on all of these factors we've been discussing. Just like whether to guard the line. We hear about moving the third baseman and the first baseman closer to the foul line sometimes in a close ball game to try to keep the hitter from getting a double and getting in scoring position. We want to protect the line because we know if the ball gets between us and the foul line, then maybe the player's going to get a double. So we play closer to the line. The time to do that is when it's a very important runner at the plate. In other words, if that run will tie or beat you, maybe guard the line. But if you're ahead 7-0, take away hits. There's no need to protect the line. Play where people normally hit the ball rather than trying to guard the line. And then the final situation we want to talk about on defense is one we mentioned a little bit earlier. We said some coaches have their outfielders always throw the ball to second base on base hits rather than trying to throw a runner out going to the plate. And that's a very logical thing to do in certain situations. Maybe not all the time, but certainly in certain situations. For instance, if I'm ahead 5-0 and there's a runner on second base and there's a single to left field, unless I'm just 100% positive I can throw the runner out at home plate, I don't want to throw to home plate. Because by throwing home, I let the player that got the hit get to second base. I want to keep that runner at first base where now we've got force plays, we've got a chance to get a double play, and that runner can't score from first unless it's an extra base hit. I want to keep the hitter off second base if I'm very far ahead in the ball game. Or if the hitter is a very important run, I want to keep them off second base. So think about that situation and instruct your outfielders when they should throw home to try to get a runner and when they should throw to second base and try to keep the hitter off second.